4:16 local time. The sea west of the Arabian Peninsula is still almost black. From a distance, the carrier group looks slow, quiet, and ordinary, dark shapes moving through a narrow stretch of water that has seen too many flags, too many escorts, and too many watching eyes. On the carrier's island, only a few lights burn. On the flight deck, crews move under red illumination. Below them, behind steel doors and glowing consoles, the night watch has already been at work for hours. Then the first warning arrives. Not from the sky, not from radar. From below, on an escorting destroyer, a sonar operator catches a faint acoustic line slipping across the display off the carrier's starboard rear quarter. It is weak, disciplined, and moving with just enough consistency to feel wrong. Not merchant traffic, not random noise, not the loose, messy sound of fishing boat or tanker turning in a busy lane. The operator leans in. Possible submerged contact. Bearing 081. Range decreasing. The room changes immediately. No alarm bell, no shouting, just posture. In confined water, danger on the surface is visible. Beneath the surface, it is something else entirely. No running lights, no warning call, no flag, only sound pressure, and the question of who heard whom first. The watch officer steps closer to the console. Run it again. The system breaks the trace apart. Rotation rhythm, machinery signature, speed estimate, depth behavior. It still does not fit commercial traffic. Then a second contact appears. Farther ahead, deeper, offset from the first. Now it is no longer a mystery track. It is geometry. One contact trails the formation from the rear starboard side. The other sits forward, almost waiting, inside the carrier's projected route. Together they form the one shape no strike group commander wants to see in restricted waters. A closing set of angles. The destroyer forwards the report. The carrier receives it within seconds. 2 possible hostile submarines. Recommend anti-submarine posture. On the bridge, the captain studies a repeater beside him. Outside, the water stays black and deceptively empty. He does not order a hard turn. He does not call general quarters over the open air. Maintain course. Expand the screen. Launch the helicopter. That is the difference between fear and doctrine. The escorts begin opening outward by degrees, subtle enough that a tanker captain several miles away would never notice. But inside the formation, the pattern is changing fast. The carrier remains at the center. The destroyers stretch the edges. The search picture starts to build. On deck, an MH-60R Seahawk is already coming alive. Rotor blades unfold. Crew chiefs move under red light. A sensor operator straps in, checks the console, and waits for clearance. This helicopter is not launching to strike. Not yet. It is launching to listen. Beneath the destroyer, sonar holds a first contact. Then the track changes. A slight acceleration. Small enough to dismiss. Important enough not to. Contact 1 increased speed. 2 knots. The officer watches the bearing line. In open ocean, 2 knots might mean nothing. In a narrow waterway under escort conditions, it can mean choice. The contact is not drifting with the noise. It is shaping its approach inside it. Ahead of the formation, contact 2 changes depth. That matters more. A submarine staying quiet is dangerous. A submarine adjusting itself in relation to the screen is communicating intent without speaking. The classification officer keeps his wording careful. Advanced submarine profile possible. Confidence medium. Medium is enough. The carrier continues through the dark, wakes shining pale behind it. No aircraft launch. No visible panic. But below the deck, the entire formation has already shifted state. Torpedo defense teams check circuits. Acoustic processors stack new data against old water conditions. Every passing ship, every thermal layer, every seabed reflection becomes part of the equation. Busy water is dangerous water. It can hide a submarine. It can also trap one. 4:24. The Seahawk lifts off. Its rotor wash tears across the deck and trails out over the water. The helicopter banks low to starboard and begins a first sonobuoy pattern. 1 splash, then another, then a third. Within moments, The aircraft is no longer just airborne. It is laying a listening fence across the carrier's flank. On the destroyer, the operator fuses in new data with the hull sonar picture. Contact 1 sharpens. Contact 2 holds deeper, farther forward, quiet but still present. Behind them, the tactical coordinator marks both tracks on the shared display. 2 submarines, 2 vectors, 1 high-value ship between them. The destroyers widen again. No one rushes. That is what makes it effective. The Navy does not chase ghosts. It reduces options. For 29, a controlled active pulse goes out. 1 short sonar ping pushes through the water, bends across layers, and comes back fractured but useful. The operator studies a return. Then contact 1 reacts. It drops slightly and shifts bearing. That movement confirms what silence alone could not. A submarine that ignores sonar may simply be hiding. A submarine that reacts to it has admitted it is there. Track and hold, the watch officer says. Above, the Seahawk drops again, extending the pattern. Below, Contact 1 tries to slide behind the carrier's screen. The pilot calls the next turn. The sensor operator tags a maneuver. The destroyer updates the plot. The carrier continues straight ahead. That straight course is not hesitation. It is discipline. A carrier survives because every ship around it knows its function before the crisis fully forms. 4:33. Then comes the first truly dangerous sign. A transient. Short. Mechanical. Distinct. The operator replays it once. Then once more. His voice stays level. But the room hears the difference immediately. Possible tube activity from Contact 1. No launch is confirmed. No one says torpedo is fact. But the meaning lands all the same. The destroyer reports up the chain. The carrier acknowledges. Torpedo defense goes to ready status. Below the waterline, countermeasure crews verify launchers and decoys. On the bridge, the captain still doesn't order a violent maneuver. Too much movement too early only gives a submarine more information. So the group does what trained systems do best. It prepares without advertising fear. 4:36. A maritime patrol aircraft farther out receives new tasking and turns toward the area. The search is no longer local. It is becoming layered. Destroyer sonar, airborne sonobuoys, helicopter tracking, long-range patrol coordination. 1 submarine can play angles against 1 ship. 2 submarines can create confusion against a single screen. But against a network, every adjustment becomes a clue, and clues accumulate. Contact 2 begins to cut laterally across the formation's projected path. That is the forward pressure point. Contact 1 remains aft and closer. That is the shadow. This is no longer just surveillance. It is positioning. The western destroyer angles toward the forward contact. The eastern ship keeps the rear track inside the buoy field. The helicopter stays between them, forcing both submarines to account for an airborne listener overhead. Then the acoustic picture changes again. A small, fast signature peels away from the vicinity of Contact 1. Too fast for background clutter. Too clean for drift. Too direct to ignore. The sonar operator does not wait for perfection. Possible weapon in the water. For a fraction of a second, the room goes still. Then everything moves. Countermeasures launch from the destroyer. Decoys drop below the surface and begin broadcasting a louder, more attractive acoustic target than the real ship. On the carrier, the helm executes a pre-planned maneuver. Minimal rudder, stable deck, controlled shift in heading. From a distance, the turn looks almost gentle. Inside the formation, it is anything but. The suspected weapon bends toward the false signature, not toward the carrier. Nobody celebrates. A seeker can reacquire. Another shot can follow. A submarine can use the first weapon to shape the second. In undersea warfare, surviving the first few seconds only means the clock has started. 4:41. The Seahawk extends the buoy line directly across Contact 1's most likely path. The destroyer tightens the track. Ahead, Contact 2 tries to exploit the confusion and slips harder across the projected route. For a moment, the danger returns in full. Pressure behind. Pressure ahead. 1 capital ship in the middle. But this time the picture is different. Now the Americans are not reacting blind. They are holding both contacts. The patrol aircraft arrives on the edge of the fight and begins dropping buoys ahead of Contact 2's likely escape corridor. The forward submarine has to choose: stay quiet and lose space, or move and reveal itself. It moves. That is enough. The new bearings lock in. Contact 2 is no longer a rumor in deep water. It is a track. 446. The aft submarine tries deception. A decoy separates from Contact 1's position and throws a louder signature off to the side. For a few seconds, the display splits. Two paths, one real, one designed to waste time. But the acoustic team reads beyond volume: blade rhythm, mass behavior, movement logic. The fake is louder. The real one is heavier. Decoy confirmed. Main contact still low. That is the moment the balance changes. Because once a submarine has spent one of its tricks and gained no freedom from it, the initiative starts to slip away. 449. A warning goes out across open frequencies. Submerged contact operating near U.S. naval forces. Your position is known. Unsafe approach will be treated as escalatory. No answer comes back. Only movement. Contact 2 eases away first, turning toward deeper water outside the densest part of the corridor. Contact 1 lingers longer, still close enough to matter, still trying to preserve some appearance of control. The Seahawk shifts into a direct attack posture without releasing a weapon. From below, the submarine cannot see the aircraft, but it can hear what matters: rotor rhythm, buoy entries, destroyer screws adjusting position, another short active pulse. The message is clear even through hundreds of feet of water. You are tracked. You are held. You are no longer shaping this encounter. At last, Contact 1 turns outward. Not dramatically. No surface breach. No flag. No admission. Just bearing drift, slow enclosure, increasing range. Underwater, that is all the evidence anyone needs. 454. Both contacts are now opening distance. The carrier remains on course. No ship has broken formation. No missile has been fired. No submarine has forced the strike group to surrender the corridor. The destroyers continue to monitor. The helicopter stays on station long enough to prove the track is not lost. The patrol aircraft records a final acoustic behavior as the contacts fade into deeper water. And that may be the most important part of the entire encounter. The submarines arrived hidden. They leave cataloged: machinery rhythm, depth response, evasion pattern, decoy use, acceleration profile, everything captured, everything time-stamped, everything headed into an intelligence file that will be replayed far from this water. Sometimes a naval confrontation ends in fire. Sometimes it ends in data. And in modern undersea war, data can be the more expensive loss. By first light, the sea looks ordinary again. Merchant traffic resumes its slow movement through the lanes. The carrier group tightens formation by degrees. The helicopter returns to deck. The patrol aircraft continues to watch from distance. No victory speech follows. There doesn't need to be one. The strike group is intact. The transit continues. The threat was identified, pressured, tracked, and pushed away without turning the waterway into a shooting war. That is what restraint looks like when it is backed by power. So here's the question. If you were in command, would you have escalated and tried to force the submarines up? Or is the stronger move the one this formation made? Hold the line, keep the carrier moving, and let the other side leave knowing it was heard first? If you want more military standoffs where the most important battle happens where nobody can see it, stay with the channel. Because at sea, the side that controls the story is not always the side that makes the loudest noise. Sometimes it is the side that never loses a track.